Hi, this is Tom Isaac. I'm here to go through worksheet number 5, personal spending for year 1 for the Personal Life Map Portfolio project. And this is an updated version for Personal Life Map Portfolio version 4.2 and later. So, worksheet 5 is about your actual spending. This is for the year 1, the 12 months after you graduate from Point Park. Now, in this workbook, we've got it divided up so that you can separate out what are the expenses that are being paid for you and what are the expenses that are being paid by you. They may not be always the same. So, for example, if you look on here in the first as part of the worksheet that we've got in the housing expenses, we have things like rent. So maybe the total amount of spending that's being paid on rent, let's say your rent was $1,000 a month, maybe you'd put down $12,000 as the rental cost. But let's say maybe your parents have said, we'll contribute $500 towards your rent each month, right? So that would be a total of $6,000 for your parents. So in that particular case, you would put in the spending paid by others, $6,000. So you can see what that shows is $6,000 of the 12,000 is paid by someone else, 6,000 of the $12,000 is paid by you. And then so maybe your electricity, maybe that's $100 a month. So that would be $1,200 a year, and you pay all of that. So the paid by others would be zero, and you can see there's the $1,200. You could use this structure as well if you had a roommate, for example. So you could turn around and say, "Hey, my rent is 12,000 a year, $1,000 a month, and I have two roommates, and they're each going to pay a third." So you'd say, okay, $8,000 is paid by my two roommates, so the net amount to me is 4,000. This is a way to be able to get an idea of how much money is being spent on your behalf. And this would be money being spent on your behalf by you and money being spent on your behalf by someone else, like parents or grandparents or someone else. So you're going to go through each one of the lines in here and figure out in this first column, the leftmost green column, what's the total amount that's being spent? In the middle green column, you're going to put how much is being paid by someone else. Then it's going to calculate over here exactly how much is you spending that you're going to be paying. And then, of course, in this right hand green column, you're going to write an explanation. So over here, I might say total rent is $1,000 per month, two roommates at whatever that works out to be at $4,000 per year each, and you'd be able to have that in there. As you go through and you look at all of the lines, you can see we go through the same familiar line items that you had from worksheet number 3 on your current year expenses. So your housing expenses, rent, electricity, heat, water, whatever. Communications expenses. This is a common one where a lot of people will say, "Oh, my cell phone is, $120 a month, so that's $1,440 per year, but my parents pay all of it." Okay, so you can see what happens is there's your cell phone, parents pay all of it. What do you actually pay for your cell phone? Nothing. It's important to put these items in because you want to know how much money you're actually spending. This would be how much money is being spent on your behalf, such that at a point in time when you no longer have that type of parental support, you know how much money it's going to take to live. Now, if for some reason you do make a mistake in here, so you say, "Oh, internet, I don't pay anything for internet. Oh, my parents pay, $1,000 for my internet." You can see you get an error and it shows up in red. So if you get this error in red that said other exceeds total, you have to put in this leftmost column the total amount of spending. Oh, right. There's $1,000 in spending. My parents pay all 1,000. I pay nothing. So if you get anything that shows up in red, that's an error and you need to fix it. So you go through the same categories: housing, communications, daily living expenses. This is groceries and things like that, recreation and hobbies, transportation. Um, excuse me. Make sure to be very careful here in this car lease payments under transportation. That is only if you are leasing a vehicle. If you have a loan on a vehicle, that's going to go into a different place. Include maintenance costs, gas, any other transportation expenses, tuition. The only time you would have tuition in this line would be as if you're continuing to take some classes. It's entirely possible that you, after your graduation, to say, "Oh, I'm going to start working on my graduate degree, and I'm going to take one course a semester, or I'm going to take some types of dance classes, or I'm going to take a pottery class." Whatever it is you decide, that's what's going to go in here. Please don't include your current loan repayment for your student loans, and do not include any of your current tuition expenses. This is after you graduate from Point Park. You should not have Point Park undergraduate expenses. You could have graduate expenses, you could have other courses, but not your current undergraduate or your student loan repayment. Then you get down into your purchases, clothing, equipment, toys, and things like that, and other expenses. Now, when you get down to the bottom here, you'll notice that you have a very useful total. So on the left, it has the total spending on products and services. So the total amount of money in this example right here, I have $15,640, of which someone else pays $10,440 and I pay $5,200. So you can see 15,000 is how much money is being spent on me, 10,000 is how much somebody else is helping out with, and this is how much I'm paying. This is useful for you to keep track of what's it really going to take for me to be able to make it. Just like worksheet 3, there is a personal balance sheet as well. So you're going to make your best guess down here about what your checking account and savings account balance is going to be on your day of graduation. Since this is the starting balance for year one, consider that starting balance of year one as your graduation date. These things over here on the left are going to carry over from worksheet 3. There's nothing for you to complete here in the yellow. That's a straight carryover from worksheet 3. You're going to complete the green, explaining as you go. You're going to put down your checking, savings, any other liquid assets. That would be things like certificates of deposits, any household furnishings that you have, clothing and personal good, cars, real estate. That would be real estate that you own. Maybe you own a house, a condo, something like that. Other high value insured assets, you need to make sure that you specify that. That would be, let's say you have a rare antique, Fender guitar or something like that that you have insured, and other household assets. Down here in the investments, these are not retirement accounts. This would be broken down by investment class, what type of investments you currently hold. This would be how much you have in your name right now, at the date of your graduation. And then retirement assets, if you have an individual retirement account or some other type of retirement account with your employer, you're going to enter those values here. Down in the liabilities, this gets a little bit tougher. You're going to have to estimate, if at all, if you have any credit card balance on the day of your graduation. That's going to be a tricky thing to estimate, but estimate as best you can. Explain over here in the explanations. And then student loan balance. We're going to spend more time talking about student loans, but for right now, put your best estimate of what your student loans will be outstanding on the day of your graduation. Car loan, if you have it, other personal loans, mortgage loans, and any other long term loans. And that's going to give you a net worth. Now, I will tell you, don't be surprised if your net worth comes up negative. That's okay. It's very common for young students that your net worth shows as negative. It's probably because you've just really put a mortgage on your brain in the form of your student loans. That's okay. It will get better. That's Worksheet 5, the Personal Life Map Portfolio Project, version 4.2. As always, if you have any instructions about what you're doing in this workbook, please contact your instructor.